Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, the second day of July, 2025. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. I hope your families are safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in health, along with the first responders who are always trying to save lives, and those that pick up garbage to keep our places and cities clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also helping those that are victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography and child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on all the perpetrators of these things. Double curses on those who actually profit from these things. And double curses on the perverts that practice these things and make the industries exist because of their demands for these things. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America. And millions of people around the world in even worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today I wanted to discuss our acquisition, that is the New York Knicks acquisition of Guershon Yabusele. Now, I remember him from the games against Philadelphia, and he was impressive in those games. I wanted to, and yesterday during the live part, I asked what player is he close to in terms of comparison. And it was pretty unanimous that that player is Isaiah Stewart, what we call Beef Stew, one of my favorite players in the NBA is Beef Stew. And I looked it up, and the reason is because I wanted to get an idea of how the new coach would utilize Yabusele. And so I looked at how Nick Nurse utilized him in Philly. I looked at how J.B. Bickerstaff utilized Isaiah Stewart in Detroit. And then understanding that Mike Brown or Taylor Jenkins being the next head coach, probably one of those two, how they might utilize him in New York. And it was not hard to do, actually, because of how very similar these two players are. So Yabusele is 6'8", 260 pounds. Isaiah Stewart is 6'8", 250 pounds. Yabusele is older. Yabusele is, at this point, he's going to be 29. He'll be 30 in December. He's had a rougher road to get to the NBA than Stewart has. Stewart is still young. He's only 24. He just turned 24, and so he's not even in his prime yet. So Yabusele is approaching his physical prime, and Isaiah Stewart's not quite there yet. But they're being used in very similar ways. Isaiah Stewart was drafted at the University of Washington. He came in the league, the way you would expect a guy of his stature in terms of like he was drafted first round, 16th overall pick. He's been in the league 5 years. He's actually from Rochester, New York, Isaiah Stewart. And he just got an extension. He got a contract extension. Yeah, he got a contract extension, a nice one actually. So his career is going pretty nice, and of course he has developed a reputation as a roughneck, as LeBron, and so he don't take no mess. And Isaiah Stewart right now is on let me just check his contract. 24 years old. Yes, he's got 3 years, 2 years guaranteed at $15 million. He signed a 4-year, $60 million deal with Detroit, a rookie extension. Nice contract, nice player, solid. And Yabusele is a very similar player, but his path is different because he came out of Europe, out of France. Even though his family is from Democratic Republic of Congo, he was born in France and raised in France. And so he's more of a French player. But he has had a more difficult journey, not having the high school, big-time Division I college, first draft picks, that the way Stewart got. His is a little bit tougher. So he came, and then not only that, Yabusele is a later bloomer than Isaiah Stewart. He's a later bloomer. But here we are with Yabusele at 29 and Stewart at 24, and they're almost exactly the same player. So Stewart started, he played 72 games this past season. He played most of his games at center. Stewart is a power forward in the center. So is Yabusele. But they were used differently, and we'll talk about that in a second. So Stewart, even though he's 6'8", he's been used most of his career as a 5, a small ball 5, because he's tough. He's tough. He don't give ground. He's strong, and he shoots the ball very well. He shoots the 3 at a 35% clip. His high year was 23-24, and he shot it at 38%. So he's a decent shooter from 3. He's a strong rebounder. He's a very physical rebounder. He averages 7 boards a game for his career, about 9 points. He plays about 25 minutes a game. I expect these type of numbers from Yabusele. 25 minutes a game, maybe a little less. Strong rebounder, 7 a game, 8, 9 points, maybe 10 a game. Same thing, okay, and offensive rebounder, nice offensive rebounder. Stewart shoots 73% from the line. I'm expecting the same from Yabusele. So we're kind of getting an idea now. What does this mean in terms of how he will be utilized? Just like Isaiah Stewart. So the difference is, this past season, when the Detroit they acquired Paul Reed, and they had to use him because of foul trouble and injuries, and he was successful, and they just extended Paul Reed. You're going to see more of Isaiah Stewart at the 4 than you did at the 5, which is probably good for Isaiah Stewart. Opens up his game a bit. With the Knicks have very strong depth at the 5. We have Mitchell Robinson that plays the 5. Ariel Hukporti that plays the 5. We know Karl-Anthony Towns started most of the year at the 5. And then there's possibility also of James Najee, who I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful he can come in and play, because that would help us with depth at the 5. With that, you probably will see a lot of Yabusele at the 4, which is very good, because this off the top of my head, you could run Yabusele with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5. You could run Yabusele with Mitchell Robinson or Ariel Hukporti at the 5. You could run Yabusele at the 5 with OG at the 4 and Mikal Bridges at the 3. There's a lot of combinations you could use. And that's off the top of my head. I just named 4 lineups when you can put Yabusele in successfully. So that opens up a lot of versatility for the Knicks next head coach to utilize Yabusele. And that's good for the Knicks. That strengthens the bench right there. So when you have that, then you have a 16-point per game scorer in Jordan Clarkson coming off your bench. Between the two of them, just them two, they would probably, about 20, 30 points a game between the two of them, plus Deuce, plus Josh, and whoever else they add to that bench lineup. I'm expecting Shamet, Deuce, Josh, and then Yabusele along with Clarkson. Now, you're going to have another big, which is why I mentioned Ariel Hukporti. I'm expecting him to get, much more significant minutes than he got this year, as long as he's healthy. We got to find out about his availability, which we will. So Yabusele is going to be very key. And the thing about Yabusele is, just like Isaiah Stewart, he's a roughneck. He runs. He's always hustling. He's like that Josh Hart. He's going to be running. He can shoot very well. Last year, he shot 38% from the 3-point line. His career numbers from the 3, which is a short career, granted. I mean, he only really spent, this last year was his 3rd year in the NBA. He's been around China, Spain. He's been around trying to keep his career going, and he's good thing for him is successful last year. But he shoots as a career 37% from 3. So that's why he's able to be utilized as a 4 as well as a 5. So you have that. And again, just like Isaiah Stewart, Isaiah shoots 73% from the line. Yabusele shoots 71% from the line. Yabusele was averaging for Philly last year 6 rebounds and 11 points. And again, Isaiah Stewart's 7 rebounds and 9 points. Very similar. Yabusele played 70 games last year, started 43. Isaiah Stewart showed up in 72 games last year. He had some injuries, okay, which is why they got Paul Reed. So I think this is very good for the Knicks. So now you have a guy that can come in. He can be a backup 4. He can be a 5 if you need him to run a small ball 5. He could do that. And he's going to shoot the ball very well. I think, to me, he's more valuable than Jordan Clarkson and that's why I can now understand why the Don gave him 2 years and $12 million, which for him is a big bag because he's never made that kind of money in playing basketball. This is his biggest contract, probably the biggest one he's going to get in his career. So you got 2 years, $12 million, and I understand he's much more useful with versatility than Jordan Clark. Jordan Clark is strictly a shooter coming off the bench, strictly. So he's not even. And somebody tried to laugh at Cameron Payne. Cameron Payne plays defense. Yes, he can be erratic with his shooting, but defense is what wins the ball games. And Cameron Payne played defense. I wish Jordan Clarkson could play defense like Cameron Payne. I don't think he can. Okay, he could shoot better, but that ain't winning you no championship. Some people get it still twisted all the time. They're focusing on offense. I'm glad they got Jordan Clarkson, and he's going to score a lot. But believe me, you're going to be very upset when you watch him play defense. Okay, just prepare for that. He's not Deuce McBride. He's not Cameron Payne. He's not Shamet on defense, which is why I really hope the Knicks have $3.5 million left. I'm hoping they can get Shamet to take that money and keep Shamet because Shamet plays defense. He's a spot-up 3 shooter, knockdown shooter, and he plays defense. We need that, okay? So, but with Yabusele, you can put him in a lineup with the bench. You can put him in a lineup with starters. You can use him at a 5. You can use him at a 4. He's going to run. He's going to be giving you his all every play. He's a hustler. He'll dive on the floor. He'll play defense. He's going to be very important to the Knicks this year. I hope he stays healthy. I mean, the tough dudes like him and Stewart usually are pretty good. Stewart's been having a little bit of trouble lately. I mean, Stewart played 72 games this past season, but the year before he played 46, year before he played 50, year before he played 71 and 68. To me, 72 is the benchmark. If we can get 72 games out of any player in our rotation, that's a good year. So Stewart got 72 last year. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that you can get 72 out of Yabusele this year. So now that's good. So you're going to have him and you're going to use him in various lineups. It's going to be very good. I like that. Okay, so that opens up things for the Knicks. An offensive mind like Mike Brown. You know, I saw the other day, I looked at Mike Brown's coaching record. And that's how somebody asked, how do you figure out he's not defensive? Because I looked at his coaching record and I saw where his teams end up in terms of ranking for defense and differential, which Tom Thibodeau taught us the differential is one of the most important things. I learned that from him. And if you look at the differentials of NBA teams, it pretty much shows you where they are in the conference. And so that's a very important stat. So I looked at his, and his was never at the top. His offense, though, he's been number 1 in the league in offense. So he can coach some offense. But his defensive teams has never, look at his, somebody said, where did I get him? I gave him the basketball reference link. Just look it up and you can see where he's at. So Brown is an offensive mind. He can get the most out of the Knicks offensively. I'm hoping, and then I heard that they were talking about James Borrego as the assistant. I looked at Borrego too. Now, Borrego doesn't have a large body of work, but he did get a lot out of, or he got what he could out of the limited Charlotte team that he had. I'm not sure, I've read where some people think he's an offensive guy. I looked at his thing and I said he's got to have some defensive acumen because Charlotte sucked. And he really, he had them playing more than 500 ball, which to me, that team wasn't even a 500 team. So he got some chops, and then, of course, Norrie from Minnesota does no defense because he's under Chris Finch, and he took over Chris Finch last year in the playoffs, and his team did play defense. So I think they're in good shape. If they hire Brown with a guy like a Nori or even a Borrega, we'll see. But either of these guys will help Brown out if he's the coach. I'm hoping still that is Taylor Jenkins, but we'll find out even today, which is July 2nd, if Taylor Jenkins is coming back as a second interview. To me, if they bring in Jenkins for a second interview, he's going to be the coach. If they don't, it's going to be Brown. Okay, so we should find out very quickly, like within the next 48 hours. We'll know. Okay, but that's the situation. Either way, it sounds like the Knicks, the Don, thinking ahead. They got a balance ready, either Borrego or Nori as an assistant to whoever those two coaches would be, whichever one it would be, and then we go from there. That sounds like that sounds like what it's going to be. So let's just get used to that. So anyway, with Brown, he, as an offensive coach, coming out of the Golden State system and utilizing that with the Kings successfully on the offensive end of the floor, he is going to be able to utilize Yabusele and get the most out of it. And he's going to really have a lot of tools to utilize Yabusele along with the rest of the talented Knicks. They got Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. They got talent, man. Then you still got Josh Hart, Deuce McBride coming off your bench. They're going, and he will be able to get the most out of it. Our issue, of course, as we've been discussing ad nauseum, is defense. Will they play any defense? We'll find out. And that's why I'm thinking the assistant coach is going to be very important in that regard. But with respect to Yabusele, if you see Isaiah Stewart, you see Guershon Yabusele in both how they play and both their size, their measurements, and style of play. Very similar players. Yabusele is going to be utilized more as a 4 with the Knicks than a 5 because of the fact he could play the 5, but because of the fact that we have Karl-Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, Ariel Huporti, we may have James Najee. Again, we got to see how he shows up in the summer. Because of the depth the Knicks have at the 5, you could utilize Yabusele almost strictly as a backup 4 to Karl-Anthony Towns, which is really good. That's going to help the Knicks a lot. So, I'm excited about him more even than Clarkson. Clarkson is an explosive scorer, but Clarkson, his game is not predicated on championship basketball. Let me just put it that way. Okay? His game is not predicated. You need somebody that's going to get tough boards, dive on the floor, and play some defense, get stops. That's championship basketball. And that can play with the IQ. Now, Jordan Clarkson can do that, play with the IQ. He got talent, obviously. I think he was the 6th man of the year one time. So he could obviously score. And so that's what he's going to be here to do. There's going to be games when he's not going to shoot the ball real well, and there's going to be games he wins for us by scoring off the bench. You're going to have to take the good with the bad. It's going to be what it is. One thing I know about him that I've seen, that I believe because of his age and experience, he's going to bring his best to New York. And to come playoff time, he's going to be hungry to get this chip, which is exactly what we want. So Jordan Clarkson is important, but I think Yabusele will be more important in terms of his versatility, both as a 4, as a 5, as a shooter, as a defender, as a rebounder, an overall player. I like Yabusele, and I think we got one here. That's why they gave him $12 million, and they gave Jordan Clarkson $3.5 million. Jordan Clarkson accepted $3.5 million because of the buyout money he got, but they was giving that money to Yabusele because they wanted to make sure they lock him down. It reminds me of when they got a guy named Isaiah Hartenstein from the Clippers, who was a backup with the Clippers, if you recall. And Hartenstein, almost from the beginning, was making his value known in the second unit, and then when Mitch got hurt as a starter. I don't expect Yabusele to be Hartenstein starting at the 5, but he can definitely play the 4. And he could start at the 4 if Karl-Anthony Towns twists his ankle or needs a knee, to sit for a minute because, that knee was bothering him a lot last year. You could start Yabusele. So I think we're in good shape, y'all. I'm trying to stay, and this is the thing. I always try to keep my excitement, try to keep it harnessed a little bit. Some of y'all just let it flow as they're going to go 82-0. Listen, there's going to be 2 and 3, they're going to be 2 and 3 losses in a row. That's going to happen. The Knicks ain't going to go 82-0, but they should come out the East. some of y'all can't fathom how you can lose 2 or 3 games in a row and still come out the East because you think the end of the world when they lose. Listen, this is the league. This is for real. It's an 82-game grind. But I'm thinking the Knicks are ready for it. You all enjoy your Wednesday. So